Hello everybody, here we are today getting into the Central Division for our season previews, and today we have the Arizona Coyotes. Now before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey. That being said, let's get on into it. So the Coyotes are a team that obviously didn't have the best year last year, but it was a step up from the season prior. They finished with 70 points and have some expectations, I feel like, going into this season. That being said, what are some storylines to watch out for the Yotes going into this campaign? So the first one is, can Clayton Keller's career year become the norm? Now, Keller is coming off of a big year. 86 points, led the team. His previous high was 65 points, and he also exploded for 37 goals as well when his previous high was 28 goals, which actually came the season prior to this past season. So you're seeing career numbers back-to-back years in terms of goals and career numbers in terms of points all around in a big spike. So that's really incredible there. And I'm going to read off of my tablet just real quick because I know I'm not going to remember these numbers. When Carlson was out on the ice at 5-on-5, the Coyotes were 56 goals for to 56 goals allowed, and then without him 95 to 124. So breaking even when he's out there at full strength compared to obviously being down. And then with all situations with Clayton Keller out there, you had 86 goals to 74 against, and then in all situations for the team without him out there, 169 goals to 239. So you can see that Keller is having an impact where they are getting more offense and they are outscoring teams, which is a good thing. Now I know some people look at the power play and say, holy cow, that is a big part of it. And yes, it is, but the power play does attribute to that. All and around, though, I'm looking at these numbers and saying these are good things. When Keller's out there, they're getting good results offensively, especially. And the big thing for me looking at Keller that I think is really important to look at, and I know I don't typically use this, but points per game. That is really something that I like to look at from time to time to say, okay, is this something that is noticeable? And it is. Over the past 2 years, he's averaged 0.94 points per game and then 1.04 points per game. So nearly a point per game player 2 seasons ago, and then over a point per game player last year. Really incredible stuff. The defensive numbers may not be great, but at the end of the day, when you're getting the offensive numbers that you're getting out of Keller, I don't really think it matters. And the defense by no means is just absolutely atrocious like some forwards in the league. One thing that I really like for Keller in terms of replicating success from last year was 38 out of his 49 assists were primary assists, so 77.5%. That's really good. Primary goals, primary assists I should say, are a little bit easier to replicate because you're not relying on it being a secondary assist like I'll always say on here, and that is a really high percentage, especially for a guy that played a lot of minutes. And then another thing is, guess who was 10th in the league for even strength goals last year with 30? Yes, it was Clayton Keller. So great numbers there, just behind Nathan MacKinnon, who was 9th in the league. And to have a guy that could maybe have another good year at even strength for Clayton Keller in terms of goals, maybe some more power play goals, could be looking at the first 40-goal season for him. I couldn't tell you, but man, it would be really good news for his club. The good news is, too, you're looking at a guy that might be playing for his captaincy or for captaincy. I don't know how much that matters to guys nowadays, where obviously you are looking at for yourself a little bit more. But I do think for a guy like Keller that's been there for a while, that's been with the team while they've had a lot of lows on and off the ice, I think it would be really special for him to get the captaincy. And for him, he probably wants to get it, and I think it would be kind of a badge of honor for himself and for the team. And then also he's got long-term stability. So this is all kind of culminating in a guy that's coming off of 2 really good seasons. Last year was incredible, and also a guy that's motivated in terms of getting the captaincy and has the security of long-term contract that doesn't expire for another 3 years, I think it is. So that is good there. And I think that while I won't say an 80+ point season is definitely going to happen again this year, if he is close to about a point per game, that could very well mean that this is the norm for him, as he has done that over the past 2 seasons. 3 times is no fluke, and Keller looks to be a big driving force of offense for the Coyotes for the foreseeable future. The second thing, unfortunately, we have to talk about it, is where is this club's long-term future going to be, and is it in Arizona? Now, the team ended up, of course, getting kicked out of Glendale. The whole Tempe vote ended up not going their way, which they really expected it to, and now a lot of rumors are starting to swirl that their time in the desert is, dwindling down. They are also hearing a lot of news about, oh, you're going to become the Houston Coyotes or whatever it would be, because they were relocated conveniently to the Central when Seattle came over. I don't think it's a big conspiracy theory. Seattle's literally on the West Coast, or, it's got its little bay or whatever, but it's far west, and the Coyotes or Vegas would have had to move. It ended up being the Coyotes, but it is convenient that, of course, in-state rivalry with the Dallas Stars in Texas and just being geographically closer to a lot of those teams kind of makes sense. So you're kind of thinking maybe this is the end for the team, but their owner does seem to be really motivated on trying to keep them in the desert. I know a lot of people like to kick this team while they're down, especially a lot of Canadians, I think, like to kick the team while it's down. But for me, looking at this owner trying to get this thing done, I really would like to see them stay in Arizona. And it seems like, from what I read online from a couple of news sources from Arizona, they are trying to get private property or possibly tribal land. I don't know if they would buy the land off of the tribes that live there, or if they would say, we will just have the stadium here and you can get a portion of the money. Not exactly sure how all that's going to work, but I do think that right now they are going to be able to stay at Arizona State Mall Arena on a year-to-year basis. The problem is, I also think Gary Bettman's patience is running out a little bit for Arizona in terms of their long-term plan, because a 5,000 person stadium is not up to the pedigree of the NHL. There are teams in the DEL, which is the German league, which have 12,000 person stadiums. There are, teams that are not far from where they're playing that are minor league hockey teams that have a bigger capacity. So time could be running out here. I'm just hoping something can get done. Mesa seems to be the place they're trying to get things to happen. That's about 30 minutes east of Phoenix, according to Google Maps. And so we are really thinking that things have to be getting done sooner rather than later, because Gary might be willing to pull the plug on it within another year or two, and they really could be in Houston. And after that really depressing point, we're going to move to more positive things, talking about, are the Coyotes actually starting to get things together? Looking at this projected lineup, I actually looked at it for the first time in a while and said, not only do I know who these guys are, I think this team has some potential. Looking at the team, there are guys that are proven, like Clayton Keller, but there's also a lot of young talent that you're excited to see. Dylan Gunther, Logan Cooley, Matthias Michelli obviously is one of them, and many, many more. Bill Armstrong has built a stockpile of picks, and he is, seeing kind of the fruit of his labor being brought out here, where you have so many young guys that are high-end picks, that are high-end talent, that you could see go up there and do well. Obviously, you want your 6th, your 7th round picks to work out, but with the high-end picks, they're more likely to work out, and I think that's what I'm really excited for. I look at this forward group, I see potential. Not saying that they're going to go up there and be, top of the league or even top half of the league. I look at this defense group, I see the blue line, I say that has potential. Maybe not be perfect, but it has potential. I look at the goaltending, what do I see? I'm not really sure so far, because they both had really bad years. You had Ingram, that obviously there was a whole situation there. Their goalie stats weren't great, but it is a team sport. I know that there were some nights they're getting peppered. In general, though, I think that you're starting to see some pieces here, like Zucker brought over from the offseason, that could be a guy that could help them out. Veteran guy coming off of a 27 or 28 goal season. Many other guys that are being brought in that are meant to make this team take a step forward. Arizona a couple years ago was taking on really bad deals for the future. Now they're starting to see some guys where they're going out in the offseason and saying, maybe he won't be a guy that's going to be part of our long-term plans, but he could help us out going forward and just kind of get the culture going, create more depth, and that's a good thing. And then also seeing the front office start to reward their guys. Armstrong signed a 5-year extension. He is the brain of all this. He has built a lot of this going, so if things go well, obviously you could credit Armstrong with some of the things that have been made now. And then you have the head coach, Andre Tourigny, that is getting a 3-year extension, and obviously things haven't been great since he's been there. But if you have guys like Armstrong and Tourigny, as well as some of the other guys that are on longer deals and bringing in talent and having young guys come in, you feel like this is a club that has direction. And I saw somebody comment on something a while ago, and it actually holds true. This doesn't feel like a team that is just constantly trying to do anything to get just to where they can scrape their way into the playoffs. This was a team that feels like they have a long-term vision. Whether or not it works, I don't know, but it does feel like there are some pieces that are coming together, which is fantastic for a person that's watched this as a supporter of the team and hoping that they would do well. I'm not a fan of them, but I do hope that every team does have periods of success, something that Arizona could be doing in the future. So overall, what are my thoughts on the Coyotes? Well, they haven't made the playoffs in a normal season since the 2012 season. Making the qualifying round I don't count as a normal year, and they were really scraping their way to try to get in there. So it's been over a decade since they made it in a normal season, and they might not even be in the desert within a year or two. But I feel strangely optimistic about this club. Again, there's a lot of pieces going around here that are moving that you're not really sure about, and you're kind of wondering if some of the guys they brought in, like Matt Dumba, could kind of help them out. You know, Dumba obviously is far from his 50-plus point season with the Wild, but just having some of these pieces here that could, you know, have a bounce back or could change the culture or bring in some other guys that could really help you out, I think is going to be impressive. Armstrong, again, getting that stockpile of picks is interesting, and I do hope that they really are able to stay in Arizona, because if they really are pulling things together, you wouldn't want to see a situation where the Quebec Nordiques moved to Colorado and were able to find success there. You would want to see the success be in Arizona, because building the groundworks, you would want to see it be local, and to see them shipped off and to see them have that success in Texas would just be heart-wrenching for this club. Do I smell a playoff berth this year? No, I do not. Do I think they'll be last in the division? No, I do not. In a dreamer's world, mind you, this is a dreamer's world where everything's, you know, cotton candy and sunshine and rainbows, they finish fourth in the division. That would take teams like St. Louis, Nashville, and Winnipeg obviously selling like crazy before the deadline being done. But in general, I mean, I think 7th should be a given, and they might be able to snag 6th if some teams fall. And again, that'll depend on who decides to sell, and they will probably be sellers themselves as the deadline approaches, where they ship some of those older guys like Zucker and Dumba off. But again, it feels like there's something to be positive about. Let's hope that they actually 6, and let's hope that they don't have 2 losing streaks of like 9 or 10 games that they had last year. They started 20 of their 24 games on the road last season as well, so hopefully that doesn't have to be the case with their scheduling. I think it's going to be a better year. How much better, I couldn't tell you, but I'm hoping for good things out in the desert. I'm hoping they end that drought sometime soon. Anyway, what are your thoughts for the Coyotes this season? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. You love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.